This is Jesse Butcher, and welcome to my project, Vimpy. Here at RW Sutherland, we had a need to import our web-based employment applications into our local database, known as Viewpoint. What Vimpy does is log in to the back end of our website's database, which is a MySQL database, and directly import those records in the viewpoint. Part of the complexity here is that the source table is one flat table where each record is a field. That makes it so that this table needs to be pivoted in order to make logical records. This logic is done inside of Vimpy rather than creating a complex SQL query. So Vimpy pivots this source data, parses it for mapped fields, for fields that we care about, and then we'll import that data into new records in the Viewpoint database. It does all of this magic with a well-known library called SQL Alchemy. Vimpy, as you can see from this README, is short for Viewpoint Importer Python. Of note, this is a project that uses Qt as its framework and PyQt as the connector between Python and Qt. So here's Vimpy. First thing you do, you follow these arrows. You query Viewpoint, which is the destination database. You select a record or several records and click Import. In HomePy, we have our init constructor here, where it will set up the tables, and init our globals. I'll get back to what catalog is in a moment. In order to keep this screencast short and concise, I'm really going to focus on the import portion of this program. Once we have some records selected to import, and the import button is clicked, it will execute this function. It saves the selection, it gets the rows from the selection, and then it will save as a result the add source data function from Hammer. Back in the beginning, it checks if the engines are ready. It instantiates the catalog. It sets up a progress bar. Come down. We pull in a list of the fields that we want to convert and call them map fields. Here we are saving as a list of strings the primary keys of the records that are selected. And that will be our list of records to import. Down here we build up our SQL Alchemy query. And now the fun happens, and we get to iterate over that list. First thing we do is create a resource off of that resource model. Then we will create its references. The status property is going to be used later on. Now we will iterate through the selected records. It will look at the first key in the selection and compare it to the list of known keys in the mapping. And if they match, then the first thing it does is check which table we're in. It's either going to be the HR resource table or the HR reference table. If it matches the HR resource table, then it will go ahead and assign that value and continue the iteration. Finally, down here we will generate our calculated fields, and then we attach the references that were set to true, which are references that exist, to the resource. Then finally we get to add that resource to the session, and once that is done for every selected web applicant, the session gets committed all at once. And there you have it. That's Vimpy. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.